You can see it. Woo! Hi, everyone. You can see us laughing
Hi,
like
everyone.
crazy.
I hope everyone is having a beautiful night as we are. Thank you so much for joining us on the
Yeah.
Priestess View. I'm Goddess Rhonda, and we also have with us, as always, our beautiful Goddess Star.
Thank you so much, Goddess. Thank you.
You're
Good to be
welcome, and we're really excited to have Priestess and Pagan Journalist Kenya Coviak with us tonight.
Hello.
She's joining us over the phone tonight, so we had some
here.
technical difficulties, but we didn't let her out of it. She still has to talk to you, we've decided. So we're using the phone.
The magic of the cheap telephone.
There you go. There you go. And as always, before we begin, we like to cast a circle of protection around us. All hail, our lords and ladies of the East, our brothers and sisters, our brother and patron, the sacred element of air, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is.
So mote it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the South, my brother and sisters, my brother and patron, the sacred element of fire. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge you, please cause a barrier of protection to all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is. So mote it be.
So it is, so let it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the West, our brothers and sisters, our sister and patron, the sacred element of water, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is.
So it is, so mote it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the North, my brother and sisters, my sister and patron, the sacred element of earth. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection from all of the walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is. So mote it be.
So it is, so mote it be. And we now bring down the divine white light from the sacred source of all well-being and fill our spaces with peace and protection always. So it is, and thank you.
Thank you.
So welcome back again, everyone, to our Priestess View show with our spotlight on Kenya Coviak. We are really excited to have you with us, Goddess Kenya. So why don't you go ahead?
We just want to make sure we haven't lost you.
Tell us about your background.
Well, currently I'm sitting against a pad screen. No, I'm just teasing. Actually, I've been a practicing witch for most of my adult life, and I did my first spell at age 8 with the aid of Scott Cunningham and Bucky's Big Blue Book.
Wow. So
Wow, that's awesome.
you must be a lot young. How old? Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
45.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
You've been doing it and practicing a long time. And so
Yeah,
then
for quite some
it kind
time.
of, yeah, it kind of makes me wonder, okay, you casted your first spell at 8. So when did you know you were a witch?
Well, let's see. My family's always been kind of odd, so it was pretty much maybe when I started seeing things that were strange around the house. I'm pretty sure my family that raised me, because I had two sets of family, they were conscious folk because they were talking about spells until I got old enough to know what they were talking about. Then it was don't talk about that.
Right.
Okay, there you go. So that's a good thing. So you've been pretty much doing it for most of your life.
Right. And, every once in a while I would try to go into some sort of major organized religious, some sort of Abrahamic faith, to try to make myself feel better and try to conform. It never quite worked out, and it would explode, and I'd probably run around trying to do some sort of magic, and like, oops, my fault.
Right, I see. So then did you have to experience coming out of the broom closet, or were you just born out of the broom closet?
Oh no, oh no, trust and believe, that was painful. I grew up in Detroit on the east side during the 70s. That was not a warm, happy, fuzzy place for witches, not at all. I got prayed at, oil thrown at me, detention after class, everything you could think of that the teachers and the people would harass me with, they did. This was not a good time.
Wow.
I can't believe in the classroom too. Wow.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, sorry to hear about that. Could you tell us a little bit about the tradition of the sacred fool?
Oh wait, she was saying, what were you saying, Kenya?
I'm so sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess the worst thing would have been later on, because, you know, we get into that adult world, we feel that we handle our own scandal and we can claim our ownership. So we don't go around with it on our sleeves. But I actually lost my career because of my faith. I was outed and lost my career.
Really? What
Wow.
what career was that?
Well, it wasn't anything illustrious. I was a family service worker at Head Start in the city of Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
More along the line of the assistant. My job was to do social work for families, you know, and children. And everything was fine. Everything was going along swimmingly. Well, the thing is, this is a very small, big town.
Right.
And as soon as they found out that I wasn't toting the Christian line, it became, and I quote, "We got to get this witch out of here."
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow. I guess back then, depending on the year.
The families didn't care. They keep my card a long time ago. They didn't care. It was the administration. But I'm not going to get into who they were, and I'm not going to throw any kind of barbs. We'll just say they're freed up my future, and we'll move on from there.
Okay.
Wow. I don't think they had the law back then saying that witchcraft was a religion, or being a Wiccan or whatever it is was a religion back then. Wow. Such a shame.
That's terrible. I'm so sorry you went through that.
Yeah. So could you tell us a little bit about the tradition of the sacred fool?
Sure. Well, most people know about they know about the dual relationship or the binary relationship of what we understand as the god and the goddess. However, I come from the position that it's not an actual duality. It's a triad. Because just like most cultures have a god and a goddess form, or divine masculine and feminine polar, form, almost every culture also has the culture of the trickster, the deity of the fool.
This is true.
And that's where I come in. The fool can be the happy, joy, let me teach you with fun and laughter, to let me teach you through my pain.
Mm-hmm.
The trickster is the one who says the things that other people are uncomfortable saying. It's a difficult path. You can kind of see it in the traditions of the contrary in certain First Nation cultures. You can find it under the tradition of holy folly if you go along the line of the more ecclesiastical, dogmatic, Abrahamic traditions. And you can find it in other cultures as well.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what it really boils down to is most of the times I'm just obnoxious, but I do it for a reason. I can take you through shadow work. I can take you through journeying. I can do all kinds of things. Or I can just come in and just basically poke fun at people or have fun with people. I make you laugh during tragedy. I make you cry during happy times. Why? To shock you out of your reality so that you can embrace that the divine is now.
Right. That's fascinating, actually. I've never heard that perspective before.
Yeah, I've never heard it either before. You learn something new every day, right?
You really do. You really do. So tell us, Goddess, when you say, and I read, your articles and your website and things like that, and one of the things that you said is you subscribe to service before status. And you said that when you were working with Detroit Pagan Pride, you took that away from you. So with you, I should say. So what did Detroit Pagan Pride, how did they instill that in you? And what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, the phrase itself was coined by Pagan Pride Detroit by Susan Nunn and Stanley Nunn at the current time chief, Susan Morgan. They were married at the time. And they were the founders of the group.
Mm-hmm.
The mission is very clear. When you're doing the work of the community, whether it be pagan, whether it be spiritual, whether it be anyone, it's not about how you look doing it. It's about the work being done by those who do the work. It's not about fanfare. It's about getting it done. If I have to go to a lowly seashore and do some sort of magical spell, we're just going to bring magic into it for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
to heal someone, and then I have to go forward and say, oh, look what I did. Who did I do it for?
Mm-hmm.
But if I do that same spell and I heal that person,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm actually acting as a conduit for that person's healing in accord with divine will, there's no need for my name to ever come into it or them to ever know what was happening if my motive was healing and not self-aggrandizement. Same thing with the community for Pagan Pride. We put on, and I have to, pat ourselves on the back, a very great event. And we do it for no profit. We do it just because we want people to say, hey, there's other people here who are pagan, who believe differently, and it's okay. They may look like us, they may not look like us, but it's okay. And 90% of the time, they don't know who we are, and we like it that way. Not because we're hiding, but because it's not about us. It's about the cause.
But don't you feel, I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is there's no reason to self-validate. You're doing the work, and I understand that you're of divine service. However, unfortunately, in our world, people do associate you with what you're doing with your organization. So it's really not so much about saying, well, I need to do more validating and self-aggrandizing because I want people to know how great I am. However, because you are also stewards of the community, it's also your duty to make sure people know that you are there and that they have someone to look up to you and an example to follow. So I don't know that keeping quiet and just not saying anything about yourselves is really the right way to go.
Well, really, it's about the event that day that I'm referring to. We come out and we actually act as liaisons, and we come out and we stand in front and we say, hey, hi, we're here. But on the event day itself, it's all about making the magic happen. But we do come out to be spokespersons for the pagan communities and societies and groups. And I'm as proud as can be. And so is our president.
Excellent. I think that's beautiful. I think that you have a beautiful sense of humility in everything that you're doing, and I think that's really, really wonderful.
Yeah, it's very commendable, actually. Very commendable.
I really do. I think that, we actually got a star and I talk a lot about people who get the itises where, you have to say, well, I'm this grand priestess, and because of me, the sun rose this morning and will set tonight because I'm just so powerful and I got it like that. We do our work with the idea that we are of divine service, period. But status, I don't, status in the way that you mean it, I completely do understand. But I do wish that people who are like you would do more, not to get more status, but so that people see the right way to do it. They see the willing to serve, the humility, everything that you're doing, not so that everyone say, oh, Kenya, you're the greatest woman in the world, but they can say, you know what, that's a goddess I need to follow. That's a goddess I can use as an example. It's just wonderful. So I love your humility, but I personally want to present you to the world.
I'm really actually very honored, and I bow very deeply to both of you for giving me this opportunity to actually, ramble on, because I talk a lot, and that means something. So there we go. But actually, community is Cthulhu, as in, H.P. Lovecraft, because I have tentacles everywhere. There's this ever-increasing nebulous network of pagan activism that I actually helped to facilitate with a lot of help from the community.
Mm-hmm.
So we're out here. Michigan is humming. It's happening. You just don't hear a lot about us.
That's excellent. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you also tell us a little bit about the Great Lakes Witches Council? I've never heard of them, so I'd love to hear a little bit about them.
Okay, so the Great Lakes Witches Council is sort of the council, but more like a past brethren, if you will. Not really rules, but more so a council of equals. We come together, and one of the things we do, and if you ever get a chance to look at our Facebook site, you'll see our manifesto. We do actually come together for a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, but mostly what we do is we offer classes and events, and we ask people to give us their reviews on different things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
We're not the watchdogs of the community. We're more like the people who sit back in the corner in the lunchroom, and we're like, hey, what's going on? Maybe we can get involved in that. Or this isn't going on, let's do that. However, Michigan, pagan Michigan, has undergone so much change in the last 3 years, we've kind of fallen back a little bit. We've got an actual pagan Catholic temple building that another group formed, the Pagan Catholic Temple. So we don't have to try to make events anymore as much.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a church, the Universal Society of Ancient Ministry, that is now doing rituals, so we don't have to do that in the fundraisers anymore. And there's so many other organizations like, who is that group? Michigan Council of Pagans and Solitaires. They do charity work, so we don't have to come do that. So everything is like really coming together. We were kind of formed when the community was at a low.
Mm-hmm.
We're still here. We still have our main mission, which is also being a pagan seed bank. And when I say seeds, I mean actual garden seeds.
Mm-hmm.
But that's mostly what we're focusing on now. Now, in full disclosure, let me just state that the groups I mentioned, I am associated with in many ways, other than just being a nosy busybody I usually am. So, I'm on the board of Universal Society of Ancient Ministry. I volunteer at Pagan Catholic Temple. I have helped advise to appoint as a friend Michigan Council of Covenant Solitaires. I teach at convocations. Yeah, I'm just way too busy. I'm doing the absolute most, as my daughter would say.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. That's the sign, actually, of a priestess. If you've got time to sit down and watch TV, you're not doing your job. It just seems that way. It's like,
I
oh,
want to watch TV.
you just want to, sometimes you do just want to sit there and watch TV, but unfortunately,
I do. I want to watch TV. I'm sorry. I'm a TV addict.
that's unfortunately, with all of the work that we have to do, you get to watch the things that come on at midnight. You don't get to watch any mainstream shows, but that's cool because that's what we signed up for, and it's perfectly okay.
I like watching The Secret Circle because it's hilarious. It's the best comedy on TV. If you can get those videos, it's like, oh, you did what with your magic now? Did you really? And you just start laughing.
Yeah, that's on Netflix, isn't it? I watched a few of those episodes, but then I saw that it was only done for one season, and then I get annoyed if it's only one season because then I'm going to watch it and get annoyed at the end when there's nothing else. But I did watch some of it, and I did enjoy that one. There was another one that I really liked too, and it was only one season, so I didn't.
What was the name? I didn't catch that. What was the name?
It's called The Secret Circle, and it's about this young girl. Her mom didn't want her to grow up in the coven, in their witchcraft society, so she took her daughter away, and then she ended up dying. And so the daughter went home to live with the grandmother, who's a full-fledged witch. And now this girl who had no idea she was a witch is suddenly surrounded by, how many people is it, Kenya? Is it 4 people or five other teenagers?
I thought it was 4 other, but I could be wrong. I thought it was 4. I really enjoyed it. I did. But it got to
why it probably only lasted one season. It started off good, but then I quit watching it, so I might as well follow it through. But Star, if you want to see it, it's called The Secret Circle. And it's really in the beginning, at least the ones that I saw, I'm only into maybe 4 episodes. I enjoyed them. It's sort of, like along the lines of Charmed and the Witches of East End. You don't know you're a witch, and now you are, and you have to learn all these things and stuff. But it's a good show, except for what Kenya says, that when you get too far into it, it's annoying, and it is only for one season, and that's what made me stop watching it, because I don't want to get hooked on something and there isn't anymore.
What do you mean? Why is it only one season?
Well, Kenya says that by the end of the season, it just the storyline got ridiculous.
Oh, okay.
They couldn't hold it up, and so if people don't like it, they're not going to do another season of it. So
right.
I mean, it was an unrealistic portrayal of demons.
Yeah.
Completely unnecessary, completely unrealistic, and quite unfair, actually, but I digress.
But anyway,
I
I can dig it. Well, tell us about, because that was actually our next question. You just mentioned the Universal Society of Ancient Ministry. First of all, I love the name of it. I love anything ancient. I love esoteric magic and traditions. So please tell us about the Universal Society of Ancient Ministry.
Well, they're actually a church founded in New Boston, Michigan. Their roots were from the group Witches of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Witches of Michigan was established to form the different pagan families of Michigan after the Tempest Smith issue. Vanessa Smith was the mother of Tempest Smith. Tempest Smith, of course, being the young lady who took her own life after being bullied in Michigan for being Wiccan.
Oh.
And her mother formed a foundation. Later on, Vanessa, her mother, okay, I'm getting misty-eyed, passed away.
Oh.
But because of the drive and dedication and the love, it kept going. The families in Michigan decided this would never happen again. No one would ever be without support again. So they started getting together. And they're not just in Michigan anymore, they're everywhere. The church kind of grew out of that. But the motivating, and the church leader, the minister is Reverend Jerry Bright.
Mm-hmm.
But the church leader almost got motivated to actually incorporate with the motivation and the backing of Gordon, Ireland. Gordon, Ireland is like, how do I put this? Do you watch Game of Thrones?
Are you kidding me? I live for that show.
Which one?
The master whisperer. He knows everything. He puts everything together. If it happens in Michigan, he's like a good little finger and Barrett's mixed together.
Wow. Star, it's Game of Thrones. Do you watch that?
Oh, no. I don't watch TV. I have, I don't know if you can see it, but I have over 3,000 DVD movies and VHSs, but I don't have.
You have got to then at least if you get the first season of Game of Thrones, you will be hooked. I think we're 6 seasons in now.
Okay.
You will be after the first one. You will be hooked. The first time I watched it, it was during cable. You have 1 week to watch like 6 seasons of something, and I was like, everybody talks about Game of Thrones. I'll give it a try. I watched that 1 episode, and I was in front of my TV for a week. I didn't even close my eyes because I had 1 week to watch all of these episodes. And once you get one, that's it. You're hooked. You have to get them.
Okay. All right. I'll have to do that then. Add that to my collection.
You'll love it. I promise you. You will love it.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. All right. So, Goddess, could you please tell us a little bit about the Spirit Pagan webzine? What kind of articles does it have, and how can people subscribe to it?
Well, actually, this is Gordon Ireland's brainchild, and he gave it to the church itself to run.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be coming out 8 times a year on holiday, time. It'll be on the wheel of the year. If you'd like to subscribe, you can look under Pagan Spirit Easy on Facebook or online. You can also find it by going to the Universal Society of Ancient Ministries website, usam.org, I think, or usom.org. And what they do, I'm actually the managing editor. Some of these things keep happening to me. So it's actually being overhauled. What we're going to be having is different columns, blog columns. I would like them to be seasonally appropriate, but as well, I would like some spiritual and human interest stories too. So writers, please, just submit. Just throw that stuff in there, and we'll see what sticks. And me and you and Lou will hang out and, hoist the ale and see what happens. Also, writers get a free ad in the magazine. So if you're
that's nice.
actually a writer who has a business, you can get a free advertisement.
Very nice.
Okay, thank you.
People should be compensated for their work as much as we are able.
I think that's cool.
That poor pagan thing, it took a long time to break that mindset. I'm still working on it. Thankfully, Charissa is the witch of the Pagan Business Network. She's helping me because I was like, no, we should all just be poor and suffer. Yeah, no.
Oh, hell no. No.
So between her and Gordon, I was basically shanghaied into you will get paid for what you do.
Right. That's really good. I think that's awesome.
Just really quickly, I'm going to say, Goddess Ginny in the chat room said, Game of Thrones is crack.
It is.
I just looked in there and I started laughing because she had me going just with what she said. I was just like,
is, Star, I'm telling you,
she says it's crack. And
that one.
I will take your word for it, and I'm going to go buy it and add it to my massive collection here.
You will be so hooked on that show.
I got my witchy section, so I'll add it to my, it depends on how witchy it is. I'll add it to certain sections, but I'm going to get it.
Excellent. All right, Goddess Kenya, tell us about your Pagan of the Year award. I think that's awesome that you received that award.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'm still working on all the payouts that I have to do. I've begun, releasing the hostages from the voting process. And people will receive instructions where to pick up their loved ones for their votes. But actually, I was deeply honored and quite shocked because I was on the committee and for the ball, I have to mention it was a ball, and I had no idea. And while they were doing the announcement for the Pagan of the Year, they're describing this person, and all I could think of, and I'm serious, was, who is this woman? I need to get in touch with her because I need to put her to work. And then it was me, and I was like, oh, my fault.
You're putting her to work, all right.
That's right.
Okay. That's awesome.
Everybody was laughing, and that's the bad part.
Yeah, because they were like, okay, we know it's you. That's awesome.
I was completely taken off guard, and that was the funniest thing they ever did to me. So, to them. Same time, but I'm going to get them. It's just a matter of time.
There you go. Atta girl.
It's a good way to be honored. That's awesome.
It is.
So what other pagan organizations do you belong to at this time?
Okay, just a moment. Let me hold on. Let me talk to my husband. Can you bring me that big old pile of papers right there, please? Because I can't remember all this.
My goodness.
My husband's here, and he's indulging me because he just got home from out there in the cold elements.
Wow.
Okay, so here we go. From what I can just remember and wrote down, I'm involved in the following organizations. Well, before I do that, do you all know all the organizations I'm in charge of, or just the ones I'm affiliated with here this year?
Wait, girl, go on, take your pick. Go ahead. You can tell us the ones you're in charge of first, and then tell us the ones you belong to. Hey, well, go ahead.
Okay, so the ones I actually have a kind of a leadership role. So Pagan Pride Day Project, I am the local coordinator for the city of Detroit, Metro Detroit region.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Awesome.
I'm co-coordinator for that. Hold on. Yeah. It's just in. The second one, I am the vice president of the corporation Pagans Detroit.
Okay.
I am
That's
also
awesome.
their public relations officer.
Okay.
I am a board member for the Universal Society of Ancient Ministries. I am also on the board of the Midwest Michigan Witches Ball.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Raise funds for Pagans in Need, which is another charity. And we also raise funds for the Michigan Pagan Scholarship Fund.
Wow, that's awesome. And that's the Witch's Ball, right?
Oh, go ahead.
Wow.
Okay, you want me to keep going?
Sure.
I'd be happy to stop. I'd be happy to stop. Let's see. I am now a staff and news writer in the Pagan Business Network. We say Pagan around here.
Oh, that's
I am
good.
one of the founders of the Great Lakes Witches Council. I am also one of the founders of the Great Lakes Witches Homeschool program and the Great Lakes Green Machine, which is also an office of the Great Lakes Witches Council, where we do all the gardening and everything else and educational programs at the Seed Bank, along with my husband, Kyle, who is also known as Ryan. I am also a founder of the Black Moon Tradition of Witchcraft. I am currently teaching 2 groves, as well as facilitating the beginning of 3 circles in Michigan, as well as the Black Moon Coven. I am a member of Oak Moon Coven. I am a member of Blue Moon Coven. I am a volunteer at Pagan Pathways Temple. I am a contributing writer at Peppermint and Sage magazine. I write the Detroit Paganism Today blog. I am the former Detroit Paganism Examiner. And those columns are written under my pen name, Mistress Belladonna. And that's about it right now, because I'm kind of slacking off.
Yeah, you know, I'm listening to that and I'm like, that's it?
And then she says,
so lazy.
I know, right? And then she says, I think that's it. I'm like,
Gathering of Native Americans, actually. And I'm now a facilitator for that, as well as a gatekeeper for as well as contact person for emergency mental health first aid for adult and youth. Because I have no life at all at this point. So, yeah.
I understand. We don't have lives either. It's all good.
girl, please. Lives where? How?
Yeah, I don't even know what that means, really. I've heard of it, but I'm not quite sure what it means.
Hey, girl, get a life. Don't you hear that all the time? Get a life.
All the time.
I have one that I'm most proud of, and I didn't mention it. I am the mother of a little 12-year-old girl that I love very much.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's awesome.
And we all know her as the Dark Empress Brenna, because she is a gorgeous chocolate child.
Oh.
And also, she will be undertaking her training next year when she's 13 under the tutelage of one of my very good friends.
Beautiful.
His name is Andrea Vidavis. And you may or may not have heard of him. He's the author of Hands-On Chaos Magic. So we've been waiting for her to undergo training for a very long time.
Awesome.
I think that's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
It's great until she gets mad when she was a little girl and the teacher would get sick. Like Brenna. I know it was you. You don't know it was me. Okay.
Oh.
Get out of mommy's oil. You're not slick.
All right, well, let's talk about some of your articles. So, in your Paganism Today, Detroit Paganism Today, and you wrote this one on November 2nd of this year, Attention Pagan Community Organizations, Suicide Awareness Training, November 6th. And you've got on here, this writer has been through the actual 2-day course and is certified for the next 3 years as a gatekeeper and has found it highly useful It is being placed in this column in order to plead with the local groups and individuals in our community to take advantage of it. Over the last year, it has been a very rough time for many in the communities. The 3 a.m. clergy call and text and chat have been hot. And on a personal note, this writer has to say we have fallen down on the job. Why? Because we are not taking advantage of the resources out there that are available to us. Repeatedly, I have offered, as have others, to put together resource binders and seminars for the local groups, whether because of politics, disorganization, or just plain being overwhelmed by seemingly enormous undertaking. People have not taken what is offered. It does not have to come from me. There are dozens of folks in our community that are here to help and train. And it doesn't take a master's degree either. Learn to use the people you have before they walk away, because knocking your head against a brick wall gives one a headache. And you end with serve your people. And I love how you end with serve your people. So do you feel that we as priests and priestesses, that we don't do enough to be of service, that we could step up some more?
I think that that's a very difficult question to answer in general. I can't make a certain generalization. However, I can say this. We are always striving to do more. That's the first thing. The second thing, I think we have gotten into the situation where we've accepted so many people telling us what we can't do. We don't even try to do any longer. I can't speak for other regions. I do know this. I know that as all spiritualities or communities of faith or societies of faith made up of different communities, what winds up happening is you have the fabulous 5 volunteers. You have those core people who do absolutely everything. And you have the other people who want to do a lot of stuff, but they don't know how, and they're kind of intimidated. And you have the other ring of people who want to do something, but they can only do one thing. And they think it's not enough because they can only do one thing. Whereas a priest and a priestess, as a clerical person, you know, as someone who took on that clergy role, we have to remember that even when we're remembering that it's not about us, we also have to remember that sometimes we have to make it about them. We have to make it about them not only knowing that, behold, thou art a living star. We have to let them know that it's okay to let that star shine. It's okay that you're good at couponing, and that's what your gift is, and that's what you can offer. Because somebody in the community needs that. So we need to let that happen. We can't frown on the mundane. We also have to step up to our human service aspect. I think we've dropped the ball there. Because of our aversion, it seems, that we've, created to traditional society and the way that, a lot of us were indoctrinated through charitable organizations. I'm not mentioning any particular religion. We have an aversion to getting involved in these big name projects. So we walk away from them. We walk away from the thought of making a charity drive or doing a potluck. We walk away, and we don't need to walk away. We need to just dust off our feet, pick up our broomstick, straighten up our bristle, and sweep all the conflicts and the obstacles out of the way, and fly on into the mix and make it happen. If there are people in your community who are hungry because they have no food in their home, then now it's time not only to just make sure we might do a drive to get food or go to Pagans in Need per se, or go to any organization, we also need to set up a workshop where that can happen. Now, let's look at the whole family. Why do they not have food? Is it because somebody can't find work? We should be setting up a system of reciprocal help, even if it's just through the grapevine. We need to see if they don't have any skills. Okay, well, where can they apprentice? Where can we hook them up with a job? Somebody's got a job. Somebody's got something. And as clergy, we are the linchpin. We have the axis on the wheel. Witches turn the wheel of the year. Witches turn the wheel. But the priest and the priestess turn the community.
Oh, I love how that sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. There's a lot of things that we have to do, but I've also seen, on the other hand, one part of what you're saying is that when you reach out sometimes to some of the people in the community, a lot of them are embarrassed because they think as witches should not need help, or they should not be asking for help. You've got that on one hand, and then you have those that just reach out for help no matter what. They wouldn't even try to help themselves. So it's kind of a funny, vicious cycle that goes on sometimes, and which is kind of sad, or it's very hard to take care of at the same time, because I mean, I know you mentioned so many different groups that you belong to, so many things that you're dividing yourself into doing to try to help, as well as to put forth information. Same goes for a lot of us. And in trying to help, sometimes we can't help everyone, and we do try to help as much as we can.
Right.
But you always feel like you're not doing enough, or you're not trying hard enough, and there's only so much one person can do, We can only do the best we can.
Right. That's so right. And I wish you should say that again.
I don't know if I can say that again. But yeah, you know what I mean. And it's kind of hard because everyone expects us to be able to do it all. And sorry, it's still little which there, that's it. But we move on.
You do. You
the
move
best
on.
we can. All right. I wanted to ask, in that same article, you describe yourself as a gatekeeper.
I want to highlight what you said.
You
pointed out witchcraft, and that's true. Because people confuse witchcraft all the time, and it's not the same. And what they expect people to do in Wicca and witchcraft sometimes are just ridiculously unrealistic, and sometimes are right up the right alley. It just depends on what they're expecting. But I think we all need to kind of like try to figure out what it is the community thinks in your region, wherever you are, those definitions actually mean. And what you can expect from the priests and priestess who say they practice those things, what their obligation is. They may be living a life of an ascetic, and they're just not even going to deal with the community at all. And if that's the case, that's fine. That's their right. But if they're standing up and saying, hey, I'm clergy, then there's an obligation that comes with that.
Right.
And they should know the difference between being a witch and being a Wiccan.
True. That is true. There's a definite differentiation between the two. And it really shouldn't be, because it's not meant to have been. But human beings, being who they are, they tend to take the English language and make it into what they want it to sound like, or what they want it to be the definition of, when it's not. But I'm not going to go into a class with that, because that's a whole other class. But I wanted to ask you about, in this same article, you describe yourself as a gatekeeper. Now, I know a gatekeeper or a guardian of a circle is one thing, but this sounds like it's kind of different. So what is a gatekeeper in how you're referring it to?
Well, in this particular instance, I'm referring to being a gatekeeper for suicide prevention, because that's what they termed us. American Indian Health and Family Services has a very skilled approach, I want to say. They follow the guidelines. They do everything that the suicide prevention training for us tells you to do, but they also have an additional spiritual aspect. And it is called gatekeeper training, because when someone's on that precipice, when they're about to make that decision that, okay, I'm not going to live anymore, you're in between them and that decision. Now, they're taking it as just a decision. I'm seeing it as a literal gate.
Right.
I'm standing there at that cemetery gate. I'm sitting up there, Dad is on the right hand, and the bear is on the left hand, like, what's up? What's getting ready to happen here?
Right.
It's interesting.
It is. It's very interesting. And I have to tell you, when I read that, I actually decided to take a look at pagan suicide, and I really was very alarmed by what I saw. And I found this article, and I posted the link, and your links as well, into the chat room. I'm just going to read this one little paragraph of it. And this is from Pathos. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. It's an internet magazine. The name of it is Seeker and Guides, The Downward Spiral, Depression and Suicide in Paganism, Part 1 by Sable Aradia. And
I love her. We used her book in our Grove, and that article was great.
Yeah, it's a good article. It says, statistically, pagans are more likely to experience many of the risk factors than the average population. Most of us have suffered from feeling like black sheep, Those who come from homes opposing faiths, struggle with gender identity, or practice alternative lifestyles are even more likely to experience this. We tend to be working class people whose education often outstrips our financial circumstances, leading to frustrated ambition and debt. We are more likely than the average population to come from abusive backgrounds and suffer from neuroses and anxiety disorders. Pagan leaders are almost guaranteed to encounter someone who looks to them for the guidance that struggles with this illness. And if they've got a diagnosis of a depressive order, at least you know that you're not alone. So do you feel that our depression also stems from past lives where we carried it over from lifetime after lifetime of persecution? I really do. That's my personal opinion. I would like to know what you and Goddess Star think about that, and all of you in the chat room as well.
I completely believe that. I am a strong believer in not just cellular memory, but spiritual memory.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we carry trauma. I believe the historicity of this country with witchcraft is another thing that is uniquely twisted when it comes to having that dichotomy of, okay, I'm all about religious freedom, I'm a Joe witch. And then you remember all this persecution and all the other isms that we deal with every day. So we bring this into our consciousness at birth, and we have these heavy loads, and we have this all weighing on us, and then that makes us more susceptible. So yes, I do believe that's part of it. And I believe shamanic practice sometimes can help, but sometimes it really just takes that dark night of the soul and some serious work. And there's nothing wrong with seeing a professional to help, but don't neglect the spiritual side of that treatment.
Right.
And actually, for me, I've not seen anyone in the chat room saying anything. Otherwise, I'd say what they are saying. But I believe everything that you, and I stand behind what you just said, Goddess Kenya. But I also have, being the priestess here in the New York City community, not, I mean, I can only speak about what I've come in contact with, not beyond that, because no one knows everything. You see a bit of both, both in the sense of what you mentioned, Goddess, but also, and I believe wholeheartedly that a lot of it is brought forth from time and time in the past. But I also run in, and we have to face the fact that there's a lot of them. I think this religion attracts a lot of people that does not fit in anywhere else. So they grasp onto this as, oh, then this must be the right thing for me. And they latch onto it, claiming whatever it is. And it may not necessarily be true. And when you get really talking to them one-on-one, you realize a lot of things that they don't need not necessarily witchcraft as a religion or anything like that. What they need is just plain old therapy. They need help in a different way. And that's the truth, because it, for some reason, it does attract many people that are not, that does not fit into a lot of other things in the regular conformed religions. So to fit in somewhere, they latch on to anything that they think will fit their criteria.
Right.
So, and I've seen both, and I've tried to work with both. And when you try to tell them that this is beyond my scope, you need other types of therapy help. I can't do past life regression on you. It helps one part, and then you have a whole other part that I can't deal with because I'm not qualified for that. They need something else beyond my help, and a lot of them do. I hate to say that, but a lot of them do. So we have to also take that into consideration as well.
Absolutely.
I am wholeheartedly supporting you, and I don't think we should actually hate to say it. I think that you're standing in the truth, and I think that we shouldn't hate the truth at all.
No, because people make us feel like we should make them all feel, and I do try to make everyone all feel welcome into being who they are as a witch and all of that, but I'm not going to lie to people. At some point, I'm going to say to you, look, this is not really you. This is just da-da-da. And a lot of them leave very upset, get on Facebook, unfriend me, and say horrible things, and they just, I become the big worst enemy who finally said no to something, and there I am, ostracized by them and anybody else that believes them, which is sad.
All right.
You know.
All right, and it's not your job. It is not your job to make everybody feel good all the time.
Right.
I the suffering, the beating will continue. Oh, anyway, we will just close that door. But the thing is, part of living this path is a self-responsibility. And as a priestess, guys, I truly believe you have nailed it on the head. We have to recognize when something is beyond our skill set, and we have to recognize when this is just not the path for them.
Mm-hmm.
But telling them makes them feel like I am denying them of their rights. But I'm simply trying to help them. If you really want to help them, you have to tell them the truth. But they will keep moving from group to group to group. And I think you know some of them, what I'm talking about. They'll move from group to group to group. They'll join different ones, and they'll talk ill about the other person, and they'll go on and on and on, and they don't quite fit in. And they never quite get the help that they need. And some of them, I hate to say it, but some of them actually call themselves priests and priestesses, or you know, people who have said that I've been in the community for 45, 50 years. How dare you tell me, you know? And I get and I'm just like, I'm just trying to help. It may not be the help you want to hear, but to me, it's kind of like spell work.
Take the phone because I walk up and like, because you're not right. And you know what? Today, here's a parsnip. Figure it out. But that's an inside joke. I'll tell you about the parsnip one day. It's not very nice. But the thing is that what you're talking about happens all the time. And people take this toxicity and they spread it throughout the community, not realizing that they're actually infecting pockets of the community with all this discord. When in actuality, yes, sometimes it is their spirit bothers, but most of the time it is an actual mental illness or an emotional behavioral health issue. And it has to be addressed. A priestess that I know, an elder priestess here in Michigan, her name is Lucille. She's known as, her community name is LJ Rose. Been a priestess forever. Elder. She had a situation where someone was literally, now, you know, we all have to go practitioners. You know something's in your circle or not. You know something's manifesting or not. You know this.
Right.
This person was having a behavioral health crisis in circle. This person was not compliant with what they were supposed to do for their course of treatment. They're becoming a danger to themselves and others. She had to make the decision to try to talk to them, and then at one point, she had to make the decision to no longer circle with this person because it became too much of a toxic situation. She was actually vilified by the community because really, well, a lot of the community, the younger part of the community, because there's this wave of everyone should feel good and everything's okay, and no matter what you are, it's your thing, and it's okay no matter what. No, it is not okay. No, it is not all right. No, everything is not going to be feeling good. Because here's the thing, in spirituality, when you serve the God, you are their servant, and that means if it is about giving up that truth that you need to go get help today, that's what you're going to say to that person, whether they like it or not. Sorry, I get overly enthused.
Well, I'm going to say that I have found that the people that I talk to about seeing an actual mental health professional, they're actually very open to it. And the reason is because I have no problem with saying, you know what, I've been through depression too, and I've had therapy, and therapy has really helped me. I got depressed after my husband died. I lost my home. I lost my career. I hit rock bottom. I didn't know where to go. And it was therapy. In working with therapy in conjunction with my spirituality that really pulled me out of the abyss, got me back on my feet again, and got me strong again. I'm here for you spiritually, but let me give you this therapist card so that you can work with them too. Everyone that I have said that to has gone ahead and called the therapist. Because I put myself, because I humbled myself to say in front of them, when you're in the pagan community, a lot of it is because of TV. Wave a wand or wiggle your nose and all the problems are solved. Unfortunately, in real life, it doesn't work that way. And so many people are striving to be like TV witches instead of what we really are. They get confused and they don't want to say, you know what, I'm not doing good today. I'm going through a depression. I've got anxiety, and I have to say to them, I can teach you methods to help to relieve that anxiety. I can teach you how to tap, and I can work with you spiritually. However, you also really should consider going and speaking to a therapist. And I always have a card ready. Try this lady. She's great. She's helped me through so much, and there's no shame in it. And you can almost see the relief coming over them, like, okay, it's okay. And I tell them, just because you're seeing a therapist doesn't mean you're insane, but a therapist is trained. If you go to a therapist, and I always tell everyone, if you're going to go to a therapist, go to them with the goal that you have in mind. Go to that doctor and say, I need to get from point A, where I'm scared of doing something or something is making me anxious, to point B, where I'm in a nice balanced state of mind, or I'm not afraid of success, or whatever it is. And I need you to design a program to get me there. And the therapist will do that. Instead of you just going there every week to just sit and chat, they will actually put you on a program to get you healthy. And if you work that within your spirituality, you get healthier so much faster. And you feel better, but I think they feel better knowing it's okay as a pagan to go into a therapist and say, help me, I need help. And
Right.
So true. And I actually, I got my therapy at American Indian Health and Family Services, which is how I found out about native and traditional practices. But I have to say this, though. I have to ask you a question. Have you run into it where you had a situation that you ran into a therapist, and because you were pagan, they were more concerned with saving your soul than saving your sanity?
No, let me tell you the story. No, let me tell you the story. And I do believe when you work with the universe works with you. You work with your gods and goddesses, they're going to work with you. They've got your back. And when I realized I was reaching critical mass with what I had lost so much in a 6-month time period, I lost my husband unexpectedly, found out that I had a 20-pound uterine tumor. The mortgage industry died. I lost my career. My house went into foreclosure. I mean, everything you can think of happened to me in a 6-month period. I had no time to grieve my husband. It was just awful. And because I was in such a state of survival, I got through all that and started my new, full-time career as a public witch, a public priestess. However, because I was in such a survival mode, I never got a chance to handle all those other things. I never got a chance to grieve my husband, grieve my career, grieve the loss of my home, all of it. I had so much grief and anger that I said, you know what? I can't handle this on my own. I'm going to get a therapist. So I looked at my insurance to see who I could call. I called one person. Sorry, we're not taking any new clients. Okay. Tried another person. Sorry, we're not taking any new clients. Okay, which really frightens me because Albuquerque's not that big. So I'm like, for God's sake, is everybody in therapy? I can't even get a freaking appointment. I called somebody else, and this woman said, you know what? I can't take anything else. However, try this lady. She might be able to take you. So I called this next woman thinking she's going to turn me away too. And she said, tell me first what your problem is. What is it that's inspiring you to get therapy? And I said, well, my husband, in a 6-month period, my husband died. I had this tumor. I lost my career. I lost my home. I lost everything. And she said, can you come in at 9 o'clock? And I said, absolutely. And when I walked into her office, the first thing I saw was all the crystals on her desk, on her kitchen. And while she never comes out and says that she's a pagan or a light worker or however she terms herself, she made it clear that she was. I could talk about my visions, about what I was experiencing, the gods and goddesses, the messages that I got. She never batted an eye, and she pulled me out of my depression. So the universe led me to someone who was like-minded, who could help me.
See, but one of the things that with you actually went. Oh, I didn't hear her.
Right. And what were you saying, Goddess Star?
No, I was saying, but the issue that I see that happens with people, if they even go to a therapist, is they treat it as a very codependent thing. This is where I go to every week, once a week, and I just talk and leave. I've never heard anyone say, I'm going to go there, and this is my mindset. It's the same thing that I did with my knees. They asked me, what is it you want to attain?
Yes.
And I told them, and within a specified time. Yes. And that's what I did. And that's the same way you have to do it. And people, if they're so busy denying what they have or that they need help because I'm a witch, then how could they possibly know they need help? You
Exactly.
know, and here you are telling them this, so obviously you must be wrong, you know, and they turn on you.
Well, you know, you do.
So,
I do believe that you do have to direct your therapist. Otherwise, you will go there every week, chat for an hour, and walk away instead of actually working. So this is. And when I went in there, I said, "This is what I need. I can't get rid of this grief. I can't get rid of this anger. It's compromising my spirituality. I need you to help me get rid of this grief, get rid of this anger, understand the sources of it, get to the underlying problems. I don't care how far back they go, and get me to a space of balance." And she said, "Your problem with you is you're riding the pendulum. You're either here or you're here. I'm going to get you in the middle." And she did.
there you go. Okay. But
She
it's
did.
true. So thank you, Goddess Kenya. You were able to bring something to light that we didn't even realize we had in the back of our minds there as to people like this. It's good to know that there's help. It's good to know that they can reach out and say, this is what I want to do and achieve. So they're not just there as that codependent thing. And, you know, let witches know that we also need help. We're humans too, you know, and we need help. We don't know everything. You know, we would love to think that we do because we're enlightened. But
Yeah,
because we're so enlightened, we should be the ones to recognize when we need help most.
absolutely. And we've got quite some, a lot of stuff in the chat room. We've got, okay, let
Wow,
me go
okay.
all the way up so I don't miss anybody. Okay, so we've got Ginny, who says, "I do believe we carry emotional, spiritual baggage, so to speak, from past life. I've experienced this via soul retrieval. That said, I also believe Goddess Star is right on the mark. Mental illness is a real thing." And then she goes on to say, "And it does people a disservice to pretend it isn't." Tamara says, "Indeed." And then Katie says, "I've experienced and observed this as well, Ginny. This can manifest in irrational phobias, hangups, painful karmic relationships, mental illness is mentioned in even more manifestations. It's beautiful to hear others acknowledging this truth as well." And Lori responds with, "I still am going to counselor. That's great help about history family. My father abused her physically. Then I got out and I feel better and found the goddess, and now she feels blessed and safe." And we've also got Ginny, we've got Tamara, who says, "Goddess Rhonda, you're right on point." Ginny, who says, "You have the right therapist. If you have the right therapist, mental health counseling and paganism can work beautifully together." Yes, ma'am, it certainly can. And then it goes on to say, Katie, "Therapists are just more socially accepted healers of our world." Lori says, "Counselors say breathe deeply and chant, let go of the past to get it out of you. I'm learning from here. This is great and want to understand more." I'm not quite sure, Lori, what you mean when you say where is paganism working to, I don't know if you're saying how does paganism and spirituality work together. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. We're going to give you the names of some gods and goddesses that are about being happy and joyful. And Ginny ends with, "I wonder if there's a listing of pagan mental health practitioners like there are Christian mental health practitioners. Not that your beliefs have to match your therapist, but it could go a long way toward helping pagans feel more comfortable about the idea of counseling." I am so with you on that, Ginny, which is why I'm starting a directory of pagan professionals, because I know the universe sent me to my therapist, but not everybody gets that lucky. And a lot of pagans are afraid to go to therapists and say, "Well, you know, I had this vision last night," or "My guide told me this," and end up in a mental hospital and labeled as a schizophrenic. So I know that keeps, yes, and I know that keeps a lot of us out of therapy. And it shouldn't be that way, which is why it did help me. As soon as I saw all of her crystals everywhere and felt her energy, I felt immediately relaxed and I could open up to her. But if someone was sitting across from me looking all judgmental and writing notes and calling the guys in the white coats to come and pick me up when I open the door, I'm going to get, I might say, "Well, you know what, I'm not going to come back here again because the reception I got, you're trying to make me think I'm crazy." I know I'm not crazy. I just need you to help me with some issues. So I know that a lot of mental institutions are filled with people who are empaths, mediums, psychics that have voices speaking to them, and they're labeled as schizophrenics, and that's really not the case at all. And they need people of like mind, of like spirituality, of like foundational beliefs to help them, but they're not there.
We are blessed in Michigan because we have, I don't know, we're surrounded by water. Maybe that's why we have so much healing and empathic stuff going on, but I'm not going to put it down to that. The freshwater seas are a beautiful thing, but I will say this, we have so many mental health professionals here who are not just pagan, but pagan friendly, and are non-judgmental. And last year at Convocation, I was able to go through an actual demonstration, an exercise of something called constellations. I don't know if you've heard of that modality of practice, where they actually bring a group of people together who know nothing about each other. And part therapeutic with as far as people participating in the therapy as a group, but then again a lot of it is intuitive and a lot of it is spiritual, and it blew me away. And this was a pagan practitioner, and I wish I could remember his name right now. I can't right now. It's on the website, but on the convocation.org from last year. But he's a phenomenal therapist, and I can't say enough about him. But of course, I can't remember his name right now because he's not my particular therapist. So, but he is just phenomenal. And we actually do have a directory here of pagan businesses. We have a pagan yellow pages. So I am so happy that you are doing that right now because it is so needed, so needed. And perfect example of what happens when people don't get help. We had a young lady a few years ago here in Michigan. Her name was Chris Keith. And she and her son were murdered because her husband didn't get help. It turned into a domestic violence situation because he was mentally ill. She did everything by the book, filed reports, got the separation, filed restraining orders, did everything she was supposed to do, the police did everything they were supposed to do. They had to let him go. He didn't go to treatment, but they had to let him go. And of course, the day that they had to return all of his guns, they didn't want to return them, but they just couldn't keep them any longer. That day they returned his gun. The next day he went and murdered his wife and his child.
Oh my goodness, that's horrible.
And it was terrible. And there is no light side of this, but a compassionate side of this is that Doug and Karen from the Between the Water Society up in Adrian, they were there to come together and rally the community. That Buddhist Society was just like an absolute godsend to them. They went in, they cleaned up the house so the kids wouldn't see what was in the house. But the thing is, had we had the resources before it got to that point,
right,
it didn't have to happen.
Right. And you know what? I'm just going to ask our viewers to just bear with us for just a couple of minutes. Goddess Star had an issue with her internet, so I'm going to call her and bring her onto the phone with us. So I'm just going to ask everyone to just stand by for just a moment, if you would. All right, so here we go. Let's bring everybody back. I think we're back. Yes, we are. Okay, good. All right, Goddess Star will return to us in a few minutes, so we're going to just keep rolling until she can come back to that. So one of the things also that I think can stop us from moving forward with getting therapy and things, and I've got this to talk about as well, is shame and feeling unworthy that you need help. Because, you know, and it's not any different in the pagan community, the Christian community. You know, my sister, she's a born-again Christian, and she says the same thing. You know, like if you ask, you know, her or so, well, she now she'll tell you everything. But back when she was first getting involved with that spirituality, you know, the saying was, I'm too blessed to be stressed. And so when someone said, how are you doing, sister? She'd say, oh, I'm too blessed to be stressed. In the meantime, her life was falling apart. Usually got all these kids and all these things going on. And she felt like if she said anything, it was like insulting Christ, like saying Christ wasn't doing enough for her, or she was ungrateful. And so she would say nothing and hold it all in. Now that she's much older now if you ask her what's going on, she'll tell you straight up, let me tell you what's going on. But you know, I think it's the same in many spiritualities, and ours is no different. You know, we're powerful, magical beings. You know, why should we not be able to just wave our wands and make everything go away? Because life is not like that. You know, we learn through our adversities. When everything is going great, when we've got tons of money and everything's great, we laugh, we smile, we have a good time, and we learn nothing. But take that money away, and all of a sudden, you start thinking, you start brainstorming, your brain's going, you got all these things happening, and you can make it work. And so that's something I think also can stop people from, you know, getting the help that they need. Okay, Star is calling us. So I'm going to bring her in. Just bear with me for one more. There you are. You're back. Okay. Okay, Goddess Kenya.
I'm right here.
Excellent. All right. So sorry about that. Star's back on, actually online again. So what do you think about that?
I can barely hear you.
Can you?
Let me shake my phone.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. That whole thing about we really do need to get over the whole we are an island of strength and don't need any help.
Right.
But I will say this: different spiritualities, other than and not just pagan, but I'm going to focus on the pagan right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
Mechanisms built in. Witches have mechanisms built in. Wiccans have mechanisms built in. Hellenics have mechanisms built in. We're not listening to our elders because they traveled these paths before us. They know where the rocks on the paths are. We're not listening to them anymore. We've never had a chance to hear them. We need to develop new tools for the new path, but the path is still the path. It's the same. And that is to say, in a flowery way, we really need to accept the tools that were given to us. I'm only going to use my example right now to try to support what you were saying. As a witch, one of the things we do, those 8 paths, one of the things we're supposed to be doing is meditating. One of the things we're supposed to be doing is doing a self-check. And if we truly know ourselves, you knew that was going to, everybody knew that was going to come up eventually, know yourself. Right. If we know ourselves, we know when something may be out of whack. Now, the thing is, if we've always been hurting, we may not know anything but what it is to hurt.
Right.
And that is why it's so important to have somebody to talk to. someone to talk to say, maybe this is not all there is.
Right.
And that's where that community comes in. And when I say community, I don't mean it has to be 50 people.
Right.
It could be 2 people. It could be 3 people. It could be 5 people in a small room, sitting back, smoking passion flower and bearberry, drinking mead, growing hemlock, and watching Scott Cunningham as he, does his herb videos, because I really think that man was high on that video. But
I didn't think so.
He was high. He was high. He's from Michigan. I'm not claiming. I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it out there. But, not in a bad way.
Right, I understand.
The man was high. He was high on life, And plus, when you deal with a lot of herbs and oils and extracts, we all get giddy.
Yeah, we do. We do.
If we can have those little meetings and those times together, sometimes if we have a community of people, or at least 2 other people, the person they can say, hey, are you okay? How are you feeling today?
Right.
How have you been feeling the last few weeks?
Right.
Let's go together. Even if you don't want to go to yourself, let's go together. I'll go with you.
Right.
And we have these mechanisms also where we have ordeal rituals, which I'm not going to get into because certain people do ordeal rituals in the pagan community. And did I mention I'm not that shy? I just want to give them an open hand and slap in the mouth because I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
Because they're causing damage. If you don't have training, you don't get to play with people's lives.
Right.
But some things help us get past things. And that's why it's so important to remember that ritual is there. The elders have shown us the way. They've shown us how important ritual is. We don't have to do their rituals per se, but we need to reinstitute ritual. And therapy is a form of ritual. You are doing a power exchange. You are coming to a healer. And you're saying, you're holding your heart in your hands and saying, this is who I am. This is what I have. Can you help me hold this?
Right. I understand. All right. So, Goddess Star, and I apologize, everyone. We are in the Mercury retrograde foreshadow, which can cause all kinds of technical difficulties. And she did try to call in, but it won't let me add the phone call. So if I can just ask your indulgence one last time, I'm going to try and bring her in. So if you could just bear with me for just a moment.
Turn it over to 40.
I'm sorry that this happened too.
Okay, we are back, everybody. We've got Star and Goddess Kenya both on the line, so we can continue. So Goddess Star, where you were going, we were discussing how in the pagan community, there can also, and not just the pagan community, I was saying this is a problem in a lot of spiritualities. When you're a spiritual person, you feel that if you're asking for help, it's like insulting, you know, the gods or the goddesses, or you're being ungrateful, or like, you know, with I was explaining about with my sister, she's a born-again Christian, and you know, they always say I'm too blessed to be stressed, when they really do have all kinds of issues like we all do, but they feel ashamed to say, you know, I need help. And so I think this expands through a lot of spiritualities, that people who are spiritual are ashamed to say, you know what, if I need help, does that mean I'm not a strong enough witch, that I'm not a strong enough Christian, that I'm not a strong enough, you know, Catholic or whatever you are? And no, what it means is that you're human and you've got issues like everybody else. And you know, one of the things that I love when you read the stories of the gods and the goddesses, none of them are happy stories. They have all been through all kinds of crap. I mean, everything that we have been through, they have been through too. So I think even those stories alone should tell you you're not alone. Even the gods and goddesses had all kinds of challenges to face with families, with boyfriends and girlfriends and spouses, just like us. I don't know if you're aware of this, Star. Did you know that you're online?
So I just because it keeps coming on and off, and I'm realizing that it's why it's doing that, so I just picked on it and turned it off entirely.
Oh.
I wouldn't keep coming and going, because it keeps coming and going in and out, and I don't want to take the chance.
Okay. All right, so getting back anyway, Goddess Kenya, you're still with us, right?
I'm sorry, I can barely hear you.
Can you hear me? If I lean a little bit more forward, can you hear me?
No, it's not you. It's me having to push the button. Hold on. Okay, we push the button because, you know, technology and I are not good friends, and I forgot to push the button.
I can dig it.
Give me a good old block of clay and a stylus, and we're good.
There you go.
But you know what? I just wanted to kind of quickly say regarding that with Christians and witches in general about feeling ashamed about therapy. I think with Christians, I don't know, I think more witches are more ashamed that they need it because they think they can solve everything. Part of the idea of witches and witchcraft is that it empowers us to be able to help ourselves.
Right.
So if that's the case, then we're kind of not following through and helping ourselves. But sometimes things are beyond us. We need help with it. No matter who you are on the London Island, they need help. So that's one thing. With Christians, they love to say Jesus and Christ will take care of everything.
Right.
But unfortunately, they do not. They need help as well. And I'll always direct them to Job. Huh? I always direct them to Job. What does Job say? Because I don't know all the Bible, but I have read the Bible from top to back. Beginning to end, I have. Well, Job is the actual, it's not the first book, but it's the oldest book. And it has more of a chaos kind of relationship between the demiurge, or between what is known as the God and man. And, and I look at it and I see all the suffering and everything, and Job cries out. He doesn't just suck it up. He cries out. He goes, "Oh, what's going on?" There's a lot of introspection. There's a lot of introspection in that book.
Right.
And it shows that sometimes bad things happen to you for no reason, other than the God just want to do it. You don't deserve some of the things that happen to you, because a lot of times I think people get caught up also in that whole, I must have done something to deserve this. No, you're your breath, and that's why this happened.
Well, you know,
things happen and we have to deal with it. That's all there is to it.
That's all there is to it. And I have to tell you that I have my own theory that I explain to people who come to me and rightfully say, you know, I have dedicated my life to helping people. All I do is help everybody. And even though I'm helping everybody, you know, I've been told that what I put out there will come back to me. Well, nothing's come back to me. All I've gotten is more grief, and everyone else is doing better than I'm trying to help them, but my life is not improving. And what I say to these people is that consider yourself as being honored by having all of these difficulties. Consider that the gods and goddesses are flattering you, because it's no different than when we're little kids and first we go to nursery school, then we go to kindergarten and elementary school, then junior high, then high school, and on to college if we choose to do that. As we're progressing in our lessons, the lessons don't get any easier. They get harder and more challenging to challenge you, to develop your mind, to make you grow. There is no difference with what we're going through now. And that's when the gods and goddesses are saying, wow, you know what? Rhonda's really tough. So we can go ahead and up her challenges so that it's going to make her evolve more. It's going to make her think more. It's going to show her how strong she is and make her stronger. And it's true. Through all of the difficulties that I have been through, I had no idea I was so badass, all the things I went through and overcame. And that made me like, wow, you know what? I am a strong person. I am resourceful. I'm glad that you let me know that. Thank you so much. Before you hand me the next round of stuff I've got to pull myself out of. But that's okay. Everything I look at, it's a test and a testament to my strength and my past lessons. And I'm still moving up. When you go for your associate's degree and then your bachelor's and then your master's and your PhD, by the time you hit the PhD level, I mean, the lessons are so intense that I know people who get PhDs and say they had to recover after they finally got the PhD. They had to go into a space of recovery because it was that harsh. I don't think the life lessons that we get are any different. Every time we move up in our spirituality and we've mastered another level, it's time to take it to the next one. So don't necessarily think that, oh, I must be cursed because all these things are happening to me. So you know what? The gods and goddesses must think I'm pretty strong and they've moved me up to this advanced level. I'm going to show them that they did not make a mistake, and I'm going to step up to it and do what I have to do. And people feel better when I tell them that because it's the truth.
Yeah. The master and the mistress rides their favorite horse hardest.
Mm-hmm. It's right. It's really true. And when you see the people that just sort of drift through life and all they just spend money and they don't really have a purpose and they're just drifting and drifting and drifting, you know, they might be spiritually immature, and that's the level that they're at, you know, ground zero with their evolution. And that's okay. Everybody learns at their own pace. We're all on our own levels. But I think if you are experiencing a period of hardship, if you remember that this is not to hurt you, but to help you, and that your gods and goddesses have your back, then you can go forth saying, I'm going to whip this challenge, instead of, oh my God, I can't believe I've got just another thing happening to me. What's going on? Am I a horrible person? Do the gods and the goddesses hate me? Have I been forsaken? What's happening here? No, you've just moved to the next level up. That's all there is to it.
Right. And then for some of us who have certain kinds of deities, when you don't learn the lesson, they start doing things to you. And they continue to do things to you to make you more and more uncomfortable and to push you where you need to be.
Yes.
Because they're too stubborn to hear it. Ridiculous and horrific things happen that are all amusing to them. They're not amusing to you. And when you finally give up the stubbornness, all of a sudden it's like, oh, everything's so easy now.
Right.
And then they're in the background laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good times over here. Good times.
No, you're absolutely. I've had it happen to me. I have. It's happened to me. I've been stubborn about things, and they will just keep tightening the screws until you finally get it. And that's, you know, so you have to look at those things as well. But even though with that all being said, that does not mean just because you're being challenged at a higher level or held to a higher expectation, does not mean it's against the rules to go and get therapy to help you, because that is a tool and resource to help you to navigate whatever lesson it is that you're trying to learn, and to help you to understand what that lesson is so that you can move forward instead of not getting the lesson and staying in one place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What kind of tool will you be if you're not tempered?
There you go.
Absolutely. And that's a tool for yourself and for others. Not just as a priestess, but as an individual, as a person, Right.
Yes, this is true. And I put into the chat room a link for happy gods and goddesses. It's the name of the whole thing is Who Are the Happy Gods? Because if you're depressed, then why not bring in the gods and goddesses of happiness? And they've got from just about, from what I can see, they've got Greek, they've got Roman, they've got Japanese, they've got Slavic, they've got Navajo, they've got Buddhist, they've got, I don't know what Haran is, they've got Tibetan, they've got Aztec. It looks like they've got Hindu, they've got Iroquois, they've got Egyptian. They've got everybody that you can think of from pretty much, I guess, every spirituality. With this link are the gods and goddesses who represent happiness and joy. Call upon them. Ask them to, hey, could I have some happiness and joy? Please remove the bitterness from my life. Bring me some happiness. Bring me some joy, or tell me how I can get it. You can engage these gods and goddesses to help you. Since if you're depressed or anxious and you need peace and nurture and happiness, go ahead and make offerings and appeal to these gods and goddesses that are here to bring you that joy and happiness that you seek. And there's a lot of them. I mean, I don't know how many are on this page, but there's quite a few.
Wow, I'm going to have to check that out after myself. That's awesome. I've never found the trickster. They're happy too. I know, but I've never heard of a website that's strictly a happy gods and goddesses. And it sounds like they covered everything. That's awesome.
Yes, and it's actually called happy-gods.com.
That's awesome.
So why not appeal to them? If you know, when you're having an issue, I know we are very dedicated to our gods and goddesses, but I promise you, you know, they're not, your gods and goddesses aren't going to be mad if you decide to ask for help, you know, for the people who are specialists in help. It's no difference than going to, if I have, you know, a lung issue or whatever issue, to go to a specialist. It's okay to go to a specialist. And these are the specialists in happiness.
Right, right. And don't forget that since the beginning of time, they had a god or goddess for different things.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that they were doing, there was a particular god or goddess that was dedicated for that.
Yes.
Because that's what they thought would help them. They went to the specialist at the time.
Right.
We just have seemed to have gotten away from that a lot and has just latched on to certain ones and decided, okay, this one or two is all I'm going to dedicate my life to. But no, that's the way it usually was. So
right.
Start thinking like they used to think, and as whatever aspect of your life that needs a particular specialist or god or goddess that specializes in that attribute, then, you know, use that, work with that.
Absolutely.
That's what they do, you know?
Absolutely. That's what they're here for. And they will help you.
Yeah, they will. They've been used for that and asked for that for centuries. That's what they're there for. So, you know, think about it. I'm debating on relating a funny story right now.
Oh, please, tell us a funny story.
Because it's funny to me.
We'll think it's funny too.
But it wasn't funny to that person. But it was funny to all of us. Okay? Sometimes the God and goddess want you to be happy, or the gods want you to be happy, and teach a lesson at the same time.
Right.
See, sometimes when people are a little bit too arrogant and they don't get the lesson, sometimes the trickster comes in, and I'm just going to make it a brief story, but let's just say it was during circle, we were sky-clad, a certain young man felt that he was just, you know, he worshipped Apollo, and he was just, you know, the gift to everyone, and you couldn't teach him, and you couldn't tell him, and there was a ritual flame and cauldron and lots of oil on his nether regions, and let's just say something was on fire. And
oh my goodness!
And I took it as they were saying, you're being one of those to everyone. So since you think you're hot, we're just going to let you see how that feels.
Wow.
Humility was learned. If that's the way they had to teach it to him, then that's the way they had to. One of my and it's even more fun because it didn't happen to me. So, the minute you said sky cloud, I was just like, oh no, somebody got their little thing first. It was fun. That's one of the reasons I refused to do sky cloud.
I was taught sky clad. I was taught sky clad, and it wasn't until I came here that, you know, people kind of frown on that, but you know, it's all good.
I think some of it is because of the abuse issues. I think some of it is because the 70s and 60s era, you know, left a bitter taste on some people, and they just can't deal with it because of their parents' era.
Right.
Right. You know, and there is a trust issue, but I try to tell people the mechanics as to why people practice skyclad, the history with the radio, the whole deal, and it's just not worth the effort sometimes of trying to, like, get everybody to do that, because you know what? I'm 45. I only have a few more years left until I'm in danger of somebody stepping on something to hang me down. So I'm just not trying to deal with all that. I've already had the incident with the pot of chili, so we're not going to do that. So I'm just saying. Oh boy.
That's so
Victoria does not have any secret that she can keep over here once you pass 40. Oh dear.
No.
My husband is laughing right now. He is smiling so hard. Yeah, he should. Because I'm having a good laugh at it myself. I just thinking about the little bits that got arrogant and got burnt a bit. Okay. It was so funny because the high priest was just hitting him over the head with the rolled up furnace quill going, you idiot, just over and over and over. It was smoking. That's the bad part. Because he wasn't hitting him there. He was hitting it on top of his head. And I was like, but that's not what's going to help. That's what made it more fun.
Wow.
I don't think the priest wanted to go hitting anywhere there like that. It was good times. Good times.
That is her. I'm sorry. That's funny. I know that it's not funny to the person that happened to, but I think that's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, and there was no permanent damage except for his pride. Yeah, and you were right. It is funny for all of us to listen to, but I'm sure it wasn't to him. No, it wasn't. But miraculously, he was not burned to where he got, you know, actual damage. Again, it really was a lesson. It really was a lesson. And he learned some humility after that.
I guess so. All right, well, let's go ahead, and we already, I can't believe that the time goes so quickly, and we're already starting to, Goddess Star, I know that you had a question for Goddess Kenya, so I'll let you go ahead.
I wanted to find out about the spiral circle 13-step recovery program or group. Did you mention that one already?
No, ma'am.
No, I did not. Are you referring to the one that's in Michigan?
Yes, to yours, the one that you have there.
For that, you're going to have to more so on the top of Gordon, because that's not actually something that I'm actually directly involved in. Okay. That's something I probably listed because I have my hand a little bit of everywhere, but I don't particularly actively participate. It's kind of like a sacred challenge program. It is a recovery program. It is not based on the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Probably closer along the line of Women in Sobriety, but with a pagan bent. Okay. Well, actually, you know what? If you can give us a link anytime, that we can pass it on to people, we'd love to know or have access or just information on it at some point, because I think it sounds kind of right up our alley in terms of maybe we can do something in other different states, you know, in different places, you know. So I would love to. I will make sure that happens. I will make sure it happens this week. Now, as far as what time of day, I'm not going to have it this week.
Excellent.
That's the best I can do. He is laughing at me. His eyes are sparkling. No worries. Our patrons in the chat room, they leave up sharing about all these things because I think it's a great help to everyone. And then to anyone else that's afterwards listening to the program. So I think that'd be really helpful.
Absolutely.
I hope they found some value. I hope that they found some resources. I do want to point out that there is an application that you can download from the Office of Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Association,
Okay.
SAMHSA, and that's Safe Talk. It's called Safe Talk. And
Safe
it will help
Talk.
with people who, Safe Talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's a suicide prevention assistance application that you can download onto your smartphone. Okay, so awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Olivia,
I'm trying to find, well, I try to find that link to put in the chat room. Goddess Star, I know you wanted to ask her. We've got time to ask about one more article, so I'll go ahead and let you ask her.
okay. You want me to ask about wow, you've done over 1,000 meetups? Wow, that's spectacular.
Yeah, I wanted you to ask about the
The article that's on Tuesday, September 29th. Okay, sounds great. Let's take a look at another article of yours in Faith in Charity and Outreach. It was written on Tuesday, September 29th of this year. Let's see, on the day of Hestia Temia, sorry. Storehouses for S. Baxter Jones. And I will, hold on, let me post that into the chat room after. Today is the day of Hestia Temia, and it is on this day that this writer asked that you lay out a feast, not for yourself, but for someone else. Today, let your fingers rise and leaven this burden like bread, and make the calls, send the emails, and write the letters. That today your Twitter fingers become like grain as it is threshold, flying high and bending with weight. Today, let the hunger he feels be your own, and sit at that bare table so that it can be filled with that light and goodness, that those who read this column are embers putting the torch against the cold. To sacrifice Hestia is to put that food in the bellies of others than yourselves. To sacrifice to Hestia is to bring in strangers from the cold and the wet, and offer them food and drink no matter how little you have. To sacrifice to Hestia is to remember the law of hospitality, and how the gods all love that law, and that the stranger, though soiled and tattered, may be a vessel of the gods in the skies. The pagan book of hours, Vivari. So the question I want to ask you is, could you tell us a little bit about Goddess Hestia and how she has influenced your life, which seems to be greatly? Well, actually, being a Taurus, I love the home. I don't know how many people are into the traditional Western mode of astrology, but we're all about the home. One of the things that, and it's not just as a priest and not just as a pagan, but one of the things I've found that if you're going to be someone who serves humanity and serves people, you have to align yourself with that which you love. And that which we love is that which we think upon the most.
Right.
What I've found in my life, the thing that I love the most is to not just, advocate for others, but to basically live the law of hospitality. And it's different from the law of treat others as you would treat someone else as you would have them treat you. That's a little bit different than the law of hospitality. Because hospitality can be revoked.
Right.
But it's very rare that it would be. But when you do the law of hospitality, when you really live it, when you're really aligned to that, when you're aligned to the lady of the storehouse, which is who Hestia is, and you take note of the seeds, and you take note of the stocks, and you take note of what's available for others, not just physically, but actually what is there as a resource, you will find, or I have found, that in doing that, it's helped me become a better person. To see that all the things that are around, there is no scarcity of it. We've heard it many times. But if you look around you and see that everything around you, whether it's from the smallest clover to the oldest book to the most beaten up car to the, most unassuming person who just seems to have a little bit of knowledge about something, that too is a resource. And instead of just keeping it in your house being the place of hospitality, but your heart and your community, yourself as you move through the community and you try to be the law of hospitality, to me, that truly is to be a servant of the gods.
Beautiful.
Beautifully said. And I love that article. It was actually quite poetic at the same time as, bringing forth something that you wanted to say, but it was done so poetically and profoundly. It's beautifully done.
Very much so. And the part that I like is about creating a feast for somebody else's belly. That was just, I think that doing that to create a feast and help people and feed people, doing charity work and being of service, sometimes I need to see something like that to remind me to even get out there and do more, for people. And it's true.
I don't think we give ourselves enough credit though too. I'm pretty hard. I'm not gonna mislead you. I'm pretty hard when it comes to riding the community. I really am.
Mm-hmm.
But I sometimes I think we ride ourselves too hard. I think that when you give that waitress that friendly eye that says, I know, it's hard, and you leave her a little extra something, that's a lot of hospitality too.
Right.
When you don't splash that person on the side of the road because, it's raining and you're just in a bad mood and you choose not to.
Right.
That's not necessarily a lot of hospitality, but it's on the border. You take the extra step maybe off of my umbrella, but yeah, that's kind of there too. But I think it's all in us. I think that there's a great awakening that's coming, along with the troubles that are coming. The time to hide, the time that we're all going underground. I already see that's been happening in communities, but I do think a great awakening is coming too. I think a great awakening of love is coming along with that. Right.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so we're going to go ahead on that note and close out. But I have to tell you, Goddess Kenya, I'm really impressed with all of the work that you have done. I love your articles. I love your journalism. And just now that I know there's a pagan journalist out there, I personally will be subscribing to you to read all of your wisdom and your works. And I would ask everyone to please, let's all support our pagan brothers and sisters. And you've got some great articles. I'm really impressed with all that you've done. And I hope that, I still have a lot of questions that we didn't get to. So I'm hoping that you will come back to us sometime and we can continue to talk about these issues that really do affect us in the pagan community. I love that, that you do all this outreach and that we could sit here and openly talk about these issues and let people know that you don't have to be ashamed to say that you need help. If there's nothing wrong with you, you're not broken. It doesn't mean that you're not a powerful witch or a powerful priestess or however you gauge yourself. It just means that you've got some real life issues that also has to be dealt with. And don't forget that we have to blend our spirituality, the two worlds together, so to navigate both sides. So it's okay to get help on this side, on the physical realm, as it is in the spiritual realm. And please take a look at the link. It's happy-gods.com. And go ahead and employ some of those gods and goddesses. If you're feeling depressed or anxious or overwrought or overwhelmed, it's okay to go ahead and employ a specialist to help you get out of this, be it a specialist as a therapist or a specialist as a god or a goddess who specializes in bringing you happiness and peace and love and nurture, those things that you crave. It's okay. And I'm really glad we had you, Goddess Kenya, because we got to bring all this out, and I'm really glad that we did.
Absolutely. Deep bow. Thank you for having me.
You are.
I did want to add that despite what anybody say, to me it took great strength to have Goddess Rhonda say that she needed help outside of herself, because she's already a strong witch as she is. But to say that I need help outside of that and reach out for it, that takes greater strength than to say I don't need the help, I've got it. And you really need help.
Yeah.
And that is leadership.
You have to.
So to me, that takes a whole lot more than to deny it. So those who are out there denying it, please, you're not doing anyone but yourself a disservice.
A huge disservice.
Yeah. All right? And I need help too. I'm going to get it what I need.
Yeah.
And I would like to just add one public service announcement.
Sure.
Please be careful with the ritual oil. Only you can prevent circle fires. Only you. Yes. Okay.
Okay, then. And on that note, all right. Oh, on that note, we're going to go ahead and close out our circle. Hail and farewell, our lords and ladies of the elements and the directors. We thank you so much for your kind service and release your energy back to source with our gratitude, and blessed be. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. Thank you, everyone in the chat room, as always, for your awesome support. We just love you and are always so grateful every week to see your, we can't see your smiling faces, but we see your smiley emoticons, or however you pronounce that word, and we're always glad.
Our circle is open, but never broken. Marry me.
Merry part.
Marry part.
Merry meet again, everyone. Thank you so much, and good night.